All right, so a question came in from one of the coaches at Unrivaled, and they were at a powerlifting meet this past weekend, and they sent me a message saying that they saw another coach there who was using a Hypervolt on their lifters in between all of their attempts. And they sent the question in saying, "Will you please explain why these people are ignorant?" And I will gladly oblige. All right, here's the thing, and I've talked about this. I'm going to do my best to not go off on too much of a rant and not get too angry about this, but it really bothers me when someone has entrusted this aspect of their training and their performance to someone else, aka their coach, and their coach decides to do things that are outside their expertise. That doesn't mean that they aren't allowed to do certain things for soft tissue and they aren't allowed to provide services. I'm not saying that a coach should never use a Hypervolt on an athlete, but if you're going to do it, you should know when. That Hypervolt, Theragun, whatever you want to use, whatever you want to call, it is two things. One, it is percussion massage and it is vibrational massage. Now, that is a tool in the same way that a squat at a certain percentage for a certain number of reps and sets is a tool in order to achieve a performance outcome. And you have taken that tool and you've just thrown it in there wherever you want because you're like, this should work, right? They feel better. Why not? What research did you do? Who did you talk to? Who did you try to figure this out? Because if you actually went to a practitioner and they told you that this was a good idea, they should be fucking fired. Look, one of the things that happens is like for the first 30 seconds of using something like that, and we're not talking about a mechanically enhanced version of it, we're talking about a manual version. If I took my hands and I did percussion or vibrational massage on somebody for like 30 seconds, it provides a sympathetic stimulus, meaning that you're going to have a higher rate of contraction, not force production, just how fast it's going to happen because of an increased sympathetic tone in that area. Once you go beyond that, you're starting to have a decrease in muscular tone. Now, I'm not a power lifter, but if I were to say to a powerlifting coach, hey, I've got an idea. How about we take part of the muscular chain that this athlete is going to need to use in order to maximize their lift because, they are going to do 3 different lifts and try to make sure that they hit a true maximum on all 3 of those today. Let's take an entire chain of that and let's decrease how much it's able to contract, how fast it's able to contract, how much of that area is able to contract, and we're going to put them in a bad position and not give them awareness of it because they really have no sympathetic awareness that's going on. So that's decreased proprioception. How's that sound? Does that sound like something that you want to do for your athletes? No, you don't, because that's going to mess up their performance? Oh, okay. We just won't do that then. But no, see, that's a very simple conversation for me to have with someone because I can give them the science behind it and say that at a certain point you start to decrease tone in that area because that's what vibration, percussion, massage are meant to do. But people use it and they're like, oh, well, I feel better. Yeah, you're going to feel a lot better because you have no resistance in that area. And if I'm not wrong, you need resistance in order to maintain postural position, which keeps your mechanical advantage in order to be able to go through a freaking deadlift and lift the weight that you've been training to lift. Congratulations, you feel better and you're going to hurt yourself. At best, you have lost your mechanical advantage due to the position that you're able to hold into because you cannot maintain the tension required in order to have the position that you've been training to have. At best. At worst, you've now placed a compensation on another area and you're going to hope that your primary movers are going to make up for the decrease in tone that you've now induced because of this tool and hope that those primary movers are going to be able to make up for that, which shifts how much force they have to take care of, which means that they are going to have to be overloaded on top of the overload they're going to have anyway because you're talking about trying to do a true max lift on 3 different lifts and you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to. It's not an if. You are pushing your body to an absolute maximum, and you've taken out a major part of that chain, which is supposed to be responsible for enduring that maximum load. What are you thinking? It's insane. And the fact that no one would take the time in order to research this and figure out should you or should you not be doing it, it blows my mind. That would be like a strength coach taking their athlete and being like, you know what? We don't need to peak. You're strong. We're just going to go into this one. You'll be fine. But I still want you to max out. Yeah, you're still going to go for like 100% on all 3 of the lifts, but we're just not going to peak. There's no real science behind it. It'll probably work. Go ahead. Why would you do that? Why would you be responsible for an athlete and put them in that position because you didn't take the time to research a tool that you decided just to use at whim? How irresponsible can you possibly be? Sorry, I get angry. Let's come back to the point. One of the things that parasympathetic decrease is advantageous for is for when you're using it on a mobility day. If you have less than a 65% load and you are doing slow tempo reps, so we're not talking about like a cardiovascular CrossFit exercise, we're talking about doing just a very steady flow, say like on active recovery, and you want to help with the range of motion in order to enhance long-term proprioceptive awareness. So if I'm able to now move my shoulder better because I've taken a Hypervolt or some other kind of similar tool to that, and even though I've decreased the maximum amount of force that it's able to endure, I can take some level of force through it, so very lightweight, and go through a range of motion. I can get myself to have a new awareness, new proprioceptive awareness for that joint by adding a little bit of load that isn't going to be too much for the decrease in tone that I've induced. That's a fantastic use. At no point in time are you going to be doing less than 65% at a powerlifting meet. Why would you be doing this? I've talked about it in seminars, I've talked about it in videos, I've talked about it in consults. I try to tell people, I still see them doing it, and all I can think is, you know what, the coach has no idea. But I get angry because you're doing it to an athlete. One, you're, again, at best, you're taking away from their overall performance, but two, that's incredibly irresponsible for their safety. You are putting them at danger. You're putting them at risk. Because you don't want to do the research or haven't done the research or paid attention to the right people, me, on what you should or shouldn't be doing and how much of a danger something like this is.